Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to Swali edition, episode 12. I am glad that we are able to do this one more time. I didn't expect to be ready by now. Thank you. So, Swali edition episode 12 on this the date of the 3rd October 2020 will be talking mainly about the COVID-19 pandemic and the recovery strategies that have been put in place to ensure that we all go back to our economic, social, and political activities without any interference or without the threats of a second wave. Now, what's a second wave? A second wave is in a pandemic is a situation whereby the recurrence of infections or the recurrence of infections after it's thought that the pandemic has been has been has been has been managed. So you will find that in most countries in Europe, somewhere in China and Asia, and in America, Northern and Southern America, mm, the occurrence of a second wave has has been through a spike in infections after restriction measures have been lowered or have been reduced. So you find that for countries like Spain, where there was a lockdown, so once the lockdown was brought down or was stopped, most citizens went back to their normal activities without regard for the COVID-19 measures. In countries like the UK and countries like France, uh, in North America, the United States currently, even at the epicenter of this pandemic, which is in Asia, China mainly. So the question we wish to raise today is our government, the government of Kenya, ready for a complete reopening without the threats of a second wave? We know that if a second wave has to occur, it should it should occur in an environment which is manageable. So the manageability of that second wave is what we are questioning at the moment. So Swali edition as a Swali edition, I will be trying to demystify some of the basics of a safe reopening for post COVID-19. Now, what would a safe reopening mean? A safe reopening would mean that the number of tests being conducted per day are a large percentage of the population, such that we have the biggest number of people, we have a big number of people being tested every day, and confirmed cases are low. So that is one point where a safe reopening can be advised. So if we were testing 100,000 people per day, and we have a case of 10,000 today, tomorrow we have cases 5,000, the other day we have 2,000, the other day we have 1,000, we would say we are now moving towards flattening the curve. But what would we say about our testing capabilities in Kenya? In Kenya, we have been testing, the highest number has been nearly 17,000, and with the cases going as high as 3,000, which is a big percentage. That's nearly 30 to 40% of the tested sample. So at the moment, the tests are as low as 3,000, with infection rates being 2,000, between 100 and 200. So it still raises the question: are we ready for a reopening? We might be, because after all, the numbers are low. But what is in the numbers? The numbers should imply that we are at a situation where anyone can go to school, can go to work, anyone can go to their businesses without feeling unsafe, and with the clear knowledge that they are guaranteed of not being infected. Turns out infections that most of the infections that are in our community are not documented, and knows that they are there, because we've heard about instances where there is doubt over whether the infection is within our communities. And I will be honest, within my ward, within the locality or the community I come from, which is, I will start with my village, nobody has been tested. Within my ward, I do not know of someone who has been tested. Within my division, I still do not know of someone who has been tested. So it brings a big question. So does it mean that COVID-19 never occurred within the whole circle of my community? Does it mean that it only happened in the news and it only happened in other areas? So it raises the big question of how safe are we to reopen? We will reopen schools. Kids will go to school. Kids will wear masks in the first day, the second day, the third day, Koshida. Personally, when I was in school, I used to get new shoes every year. And as a primary school student, I would always use my shoes for the first 2 days of the week. That is Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, Mugutu inapigwa tu. So utaangalia kwa hii situation na utulize, will it be possible for us to say tuko safe kuopen, tutapewa watoto masks, tutawaambia social distance, and then just like that we'll have solved the problem? Unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, at the moment, we have to go deeper and ask the questions of how socially responsible are our kids, how socially responsible are our parents, how socially responsible are our teachers. Our teachers, my friend, our teachers might become a problem, because these are the people who love the jobs but do not have a reason to go the extra mile. They love their job because there is an income, but you cannot go the extra mile. So the extra mile and COVID-19 recovery program should include an extra mile. Everyone is willing to say, no, I know this is the comfort zone. I know this is how things are done, but this is how things should be done. This is why we should be safe. This is why everyone should wear a mask. This is why everyone should keep social distance. But that extra mile will not be taken. I know. I have seen many of the teachers around me are showing that yes, they are skeptical of, they are afraid of the virus, but they are skeptical of the government measures. So someone that shows that this is a real threat, knows this is a real threat, but still understands that he'd better or she'd better uh, be on the other side, be on the over the fence and consider other options than stay there and be actively engaged in ensuring a safe environment for kids. So that is a broad-based debate that is not starting today, and it should not end today. The world over, number of infections, over 10 million. Millions. That's millions, tens of millions of infections. In the US alone, 1 million and above, 200,000 deaths, which is in the US alone, 7 point something million. In Kenya, we have over 50,000 infections, nearly 700 and something deaths. So over 700 deaths in a period of less than 6 months. And we expect that we can stay with this virus within our communities and be safe. Today's debate will be very cross-referenced. I want to raise questions from how we have handled other pandemics. Malaria. Sitaanza na zile pandemics zenye wasee wako scared nazo sana kama HIV. I'll start with malaria. Malaria came to Africa and killed hundreds of thousands of people. But there was only simple preventive mechanism. Lala ndani ya neti. That is where you sleep, protected. But we We know we are in a tropical zone where there are mosquitoes and the spread of malaria is high, but very many people still dying of the disease. Were there preventive measures? Yes. Sleep inside a treated net. And when you have symptoms, see a doctor. Unfortunately, we we used the necessary approach. We approached it with the attitude that someone else can do it, or we don't have to do it, or the cost of mosquito nets are high, among other issues. So I still have an issue with that saying that we handle the malaria well. We still have the problem of malaria in Africa today. We are not secure from that. Now here, COVID-19 now attacks the individual. You don't even have to sleep inside a net alone. Here, you have to take care of the individual. You have to wear a mask. You have to ensure that you keep social distance. Now, someone might ask, you're not wearing a mask. I'm in a room alone, so the risk of spread is quite low. But we mishandled other pandemics and other medical conditions, medical threats. But we can still, we have the potential to mishandle COVID-19. We already have. We've lost billions already in procurement and all, and then nobody will be brought to paper to account for that because we can see what the ODPP is trying to do. We can see what the EACC has done in the file. So we do not know if someone will be brought to account on the financial aspect. But on the individual responsibility, that is the biggest issue. Our leaders can't come to account. I know very many people will not come to account because they believe, after all, the leadership does not come to account. So who am I? HIV and AIDS, it's still prevalent, it's still a threat. But there are still people who believe because we can still live the way we live, we can still be careless with our sexual interactions, we can still be careless with the use of protection, and we still shout out loud about we still ignore the basics about going for testing, using appropriate medication. So it's unfortunate, and the story might get worse. With COVID-19, the test that has told us, now guys, it's not about your community, not about other people, it's about you. So it's about what you do. As an individual, are you willing to play a role to protect yourself? So, so it's important that we all take time. We all take time to reflect over these questions and understand that it will not be as usual as we have always treated these circumstances. However, there is still some ray of hope because I know a generation of young people who are uh, coming forward and saying, we know we've messed up. There are a lot of problems within our systems. But this community, this group of young people are willing to help us understand that the situation can be dealt with. It's not a big number of people, but it's a number that we can rely on. It's a number that we can hopefully look at and say things will be okay. The situations will be handled, and it's my hope that we keep encouraging the young generation to work at ensuring a safer community, safer individuals, and most importantly, a safer recovery from this COVID-19 pandemic. Because even if there was a vaccine at the moment, 50 million doses for each one of us would be too expensive for government. Even if it was not expensive, someone would make sure that the cost is too high for us. And even when the costs are manageable, they'll still come and someone will cook food. So there is a problem. The recovery process, the moving away from the responsibility that we have as individuals will be a danger that we cannot stop. So it's my call to each one of you, my friends, my colleagues, the people that we interact with on a social level, that we can do something about this. We can still proudly look at our face, at ourselves and say we have a role to play. The teacher that will go to school, uh, yes, with your reservations. The college student that will go back to university or your technical training institute. Um, the lecturers, the students, the high school students, the most stubborn ones, the primary school students, are all for each one of us. It's my hope that this conversation will continue and we will come out of it strongly. But now, boss, you will feature on my live feed kidogo. Just say something about the COVID-19 recovery strategies. And do you think they are enough? So I'll introduce a young man, a friend, and a very passionate individual. This is Elfas Kidiavai. He is the CEO of VY Assembles, which is a group of artists. And talk about yourself.
I am Elfas Kidiavai, aged 21, from Viga County.
So Elfas, I'm glad that you will be our first guest on Swali Edition. This is the 12th episode, and Swali Edition seeks to ask the social, political, and economic questions of our time. We just ask, today we will ask, do you think that the programs that have been put in place by the government towards a COVID-19 recovery from the pandemic are enough, or will ensure that we all safely go back to our jobs, our schools, our businesses? What do you think about that?
I can think the measures are enough, but now the responsibility is for us, for us the people, to know to follow the measures for the recoveries to be there.
Yeah. So, help us as an artist or a musician. What do you think would be your biggest role moving forward? Because as a generation, we cannot just say things will be done by the government, the leadership, and all the people above us. So, what do you think might be your role in this recovery program?
My role, personally, my role will be to follow the measures put by the government to ensure the recovery. Like I want to leave the government to put the measures and again practice the measures. So it will be my responsibility to follow the measures the government has put aside.
Okay, and on matters of access to the resources that can help you uh, safely recover, because I know as an artist you need access to materials that help you develop content and also share the content. Do you think you might need help, guidance, or support of any kind in your activities?
Yeah, we need help. Yeah.
So what kind of help? It has to be specific. Someone has to know. Someone watching this show will ask, yes, this is help us from VY Assemble.
Yeah.
Help us needs this kind of quantified assistance. Yeah.
So as an artist, I may want to reach a large number of youth and people. And for that, currently, online is the best platform to reach most young people and young generation. So like an artist, I may need a camera and also Wi-Fi or data to broadcast my content online for the young generations to view. And also the young generations, they might need the same Wi-Fi and data to view my content. Yeah.
So, Alphas has stressed on a very important aspect of our program. And when we started the Swali edition, we had an episode, episode 5 or 4, where we were talking about youth empowerment, and we talked about providing them platforms for self-development. So Elfas has, for the past 2 weeks, been very adamant on guidance. He is asked for guidance. He currently owns a company, VY Assembles. He has a team of youth who are doing amazing stuff. I'll be sharing the stuff just after this. And he, as a young person, has access to our limited resources at our offices here in Bali, which help him sometimes communicate. But we really need these programs to benefit more young people. And we know the government has put in place millions and billions of shillings in setting up of youth centers. And that has always been our question. Why can't we reactivate the youth centers for young people like helpers and for their audiences? Because the audiences will also need to interact with the content, and they need to access that on a stronger network. We know as young people, our role still remains to be the most vigilant, to be the most proactive as the recovery processes continue. We will play our part, but we also need the guidance and support that might be important. Your parting shots, but any last words?
Any last word is for any youth, young generation out there? Take care, stay indoors, be safe, and also encourage the elderly people to follow the measures put aside by the government. We need to fight this COVID-19 pandemic, finish it, and we move on with our daily activities.
Okay. We will share your links to your videos and links to some of your content and also your contact.
My
Contact
contact.
about the links to videos and everything of your content.
I'm an artist, as Makova said earlier, and you can find some of my work on YouTube at VY Comedy. VY Comedy, subscribe, like, share, and comment. Our Facebook page, VY Assembles. Also, you can WhatsApp me at on 0758898301. Instagram is VY Assembles.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.